Y'all are really not going to believe this. So if you're like, she lying, I'm going to need y'all to go look up the story. I already looked it up. But I'm going to tell you, did you know that a child born on a U.S. military base overseas isn't automatically a U.S. citizen? Did you know that? So if you got your wife over there in Okinawa, Japan with you as a Marine, and she has a baby over there. So let that sink in. So you could be born on the land operated, guarded, and funded by the U.S. government to a U.S. military parent and still be denied citizenship. Why? Because according to the courts, a base overseas is legally not U.S. soil. So this is what happened this month, okay, to a man named Germaine Thomas. You can look him up. He was born in a U.S. Army base hospital over in Germany, right? His dad was a naturalized U.S. citizen serving the country. But years later, he was deported to Jamaica, a country he never lived in because in the eyes of the law, he was never officially one of us. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. Your parents serve... It's just horrible. So how can we... it don't even make sense. So how can the same government that claims you sends you away when it's convenient? So this isn't just a one-off. There are many cases like this. We just haven't seen it because it's not like diverse out there broadcasting. I just need y'all to ask yourself, if they deny someone born on U.S. bases, who will be next?
This is Germaine Thomas. Germaine was just deported to Jamaica, a country he's never been to. Germaine is the son of a U.S. Army soldier who served nearly 20 years in the U.S. Army. Germaine was born in 1986 when his father was serving in Germany. Germaine was born on a U.S. Army base in Germany. Son of a U.S. citizen, Army soldier who served nearly 20 years in the Army. But the United States of America has decided that Germaine Thomas is not a U.S. citizen. He's not a citizen of Jamaica. He's not a citizen of Germany. He is a man without a country. I encourage you to read this article. I want you to hear what he says he was thinking as he's on this plane being deported to Jamaica. He says, "I'm looking out the window on the plane, and I'm hoping the plane crashes and I die." Let me just review this one more time. Germaine Thomas, born in 1986 on a U.S. Army base in Germany. His father, who was born in Jamaica but became a U.S. citizen. So his father was a U.S. citizen who served in the Army nearly 20 years. I want you to imagine that for a moment. Imagine that you gave 20 years of your life to serving your country in the military. While you were serving, your child was born as you were overseas serving on a U.S. military base. And then years later, that country that you served for nearly 20 years decides that your child is not a U.S. citizen and needs to be sent out of the country.
Today, we confront a disturbing reality that is quietly unfolding beneath the noise of presidential rallies and headline news. A foundational promise of the United States, the guarantee that if you're born in America's soil, you are American, has begun to unravel. Slowly, strategically, and in ways many people haven't even noticed. We are talking about birthright citizenship, a principle that has stood for over 150 years, enshrined in the 14th Amendment of the US Constitution, but under Donald Trump's renewed presidency, this constitutional pillar is under direct assault. What began as a rhetoric in 2018 has now escalated into actions, legal obfuscation, and quietly devastating consequences for children born in military families overseas, dual nationals, and even American-born babies whose parents are not seen as legitimately American by shifting political definitions. Let's be clear. The idea that someone can be born in the United States, raised under its laws, educated in its public schools, and still be denied citizenship used to be a fringe idea, but not anymore. Now it's a policy ambition of the sitting president. Trump first floated the idea of ending birthright citizenship through executive order during his first term, sparking immediate backlash from legal scholars and civil rights groups. But back then, it was widely dismissed as unconstitutional theater. No one really believed it could go anywhere until it did. Fast forward to today. Trump has signed new executive actions aimed at redefining what it means to be a citizen. Quiet changes to how passports are issued, new legal interpretations for children born to service members stationed overseas, a barrage of lawsuits, conflicting federal rulings, and most insidiously, widespread confusion. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're a US Marine stationed in Germany. Your wife gives birth on base, and you assume your child is American, just like you. But when you apply for a passport, you're told your child's claim to citizenship is under review. You are told there are new process. Maybe your military service wasn't long enough. Maybe your overseas assignment doesn't qualify as residence under the revised guidelines. Maybe the officer reviewing your file just doesn't know which rule book to follow anymore. Now, multiply that by thousands of families. Some of these children end up in legal limbo. Others are outright denied US citizenship, and still others are issued short-term documentation that expires. This isn't speculation. It's happening right now. This is no longer hypothetical debate about constitutional theory. This is about real families, real babies, and a government quietly redrawing the lines of belonging. And here's the kicker. There is no consistent rule book anymore. The Trump administration has blurred the legal and administrative process behind birthright citizenship. In some cases, passport offices are rejecting applications without clear explanation. In others, consulates are demanding additional proof of ties to the US that were never previously required. It's become a guessing game. And let's not pretend this isn't political. This is about power, about purity, about control. Trump's war on birthright citizenship is not just a bureaucratic overhaul. It's a message to a very specific audience that American identity can and should be exclusive, conditional, and ultimately revocable.
Now I know y'all like, how the hell he get deported and he was born on a damn U.S. base? So his father was sent to Germany. His father was a U.S. soldier. He was sent to Germany, and so of course the mother went with the father to Germany or whatever, and they were living on the American base where they were stationed at in Germany. Well, he happened to be born 37 years ago on the damn base, and back then Germany did not give him no citizenship. And the U.S., well, apparently he says he never knew that he was not a citizen until he got a misdemeanor for having his damn dog tied up to a tree, and then they shipped his ass right out here. So at first they sent him to Germany, y'all. Germany said he's not a citizen here. The U.S. says he's not a citizen here. So guess what they did? They sent his ass to Jamaica because that's where his dad is originally born. And now he's been in Jamaica for 5 months, and guess what, y'all? Jamaica is ready to put his ass out too, literally. And so I'm like, how the hell does this even happen? He literally has no citizenship nowhere, and the U.S. won't give it to him, even though he was born on a U.S. base. Tell me what y'all think about this shit, and make sure y'all follow for more.
The 14th Amendment is clear. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. But Trump's administration, and now his second presidency, has chosen to interpret that differently. The phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof is now being weaponized as a legal wage. Conservative legal theorists have argued that this clause excludes children born to non-citizen parents, especially undocumented immigrants, temporary visa holders, or even those with expired legal status. But here's the problem. The Supreme Court has never ruled in favor of restrictive interpretation. In fact, the landmark 1898 case United States versus Wong Kim Ark established that a child born in the US to a foreign parent is indeed a US citizen. Yet, in recent months, district courts in Texas and Georgia have issued conflicting decisions regarding children of immigrants. The other cast doubt, suggesting that the president has executive authority to interpret jurisdiction in the context of national security or fraud prevention. This legal gray zone is now spreading. In one case, a US citizen father and his undocumented wife had a child in Arizona. They applied for a social security number and passport for their newborn, only to be met with months-long delay. The State Department flagged the application. No explanation, no appeals process, just silence. Eventually, the couple received a denial letter stating their child's jurisdiction status is unclear. What does that even mean? And let's not overlook the racial subject. These denials and delays disproportionately affect immigrant families of color, Mexican Americans, Central Americans, South Asians, Africans. In border towns, particularly in Texas, Black and Latino families are finding that their children's birth certificates are being audited before federal documents are issued. In some cases, mothers are being asked to provide proof that they gave birth in a hospital, despite already having government-issued documents. Trump's latest order, signed quietly in February, mandates a review of all citizenship claims made by children of non-citizen parents since 2005. It authorizes the Department of Homeland Security to retroactively examine documentation and revoke previously granted citizenship if fraud or administrative error is suspected. That means US citizens could lose their status years after being recognized by the government. We are entering a phase where citizenship can be revised, not because of crime, not because of renunciation, but because someone in power decide to redefine what American means. Imagine turning 16, applying for your driver's license and being told that you are not eligible because your social security number is flagged. Imagine standing in line at the passport office with your high school diploma, proof of birth, and state ID and being denied documentation because your parents weren't citizens when you're born. You've lived your entire life as an American, pledged allegiance every morning, filed taxes with your after-school job, qualified for FAFSA, even voted once, believing your citizenship was secure, but suddenly you're told it was all a mistake, or worse, a fraud. This is the psychological warfare now being waged against children born in America. It's not just about legal status, it's about identity theft by the very country you believed you belonged to. What does it do to a young person to realize that their government, their president, sees them as illegitimate, as a loophole, as a mistake? Trump's war on birthright citizenship is tearing at the soul of what it means to be an American. For many, citizenship was once a guarantee, solid, unquestionable. Today, it's conditional, revocable, political. And for Black and brown children, especially those born in border states or to immigrant families, the message is chilling. You're not protected by your birthplace. You are only as an American as the president decides you are. Let's be honest, this is not about national security. This is not about fraud. This is about shrinking the American we. It's about defining citizenship not by law, but by loyalty, not by birth, but by blood. This kind of conditional belonging is the exact mindset that once denied Native Americans full citizenship. This is not a partisan issue, it's a constitutional one, and it demands that every American, regardless of politics, ask if being born here no longer guarantees belonging. What kind of country are we becoming? Because a country that turns its back on its own children has already betrayed itself. Let's not be silent. Let us not be fooled by the technicalities. Let us defend the principle that being born in America still means something. Because if we lose that, we lose everything. Guys, drop a comment, let me know what your thoughts are, and also remember to subscribe, like, and share as well. And until next time, bye-bye.